What is good, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's going on with Tesla, SPY, Nvda, the QQQ, and a couple of tickers out there. I'm also going to break down what's happening with the news affecting the markets and what data is going to be dropping for tomorrow that will cause a big move. And also what's happening with the news and data affecting Tesla based off these technicals and based off these different things coming out. But before I break anything down about all this information, before I give you guys any predictions on the markets, let me just mention a couple of things. I am firstly not a financial planner, so make sure you take none of this as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull, the link down below, and deposit any amount of money into the account, you are guaranteed up to 12 free stocks. The offer ends very soon, in just about 2 days, so check it out before they run out. With that out of the way, let's get on with the video. All right, so looking at the market right now, you could see that Tesla's up about 0.37% for now, holding up quite nicely. The question is, how on earth will the market move after that? And going forward, things are holding up very well, but I do want to mention some very important things that will affect us. First off, we have some big data coming out for tomorrow. Now, to start us off, we have the S&P global manufacturing PMI report in the morning at 9:45 a.m. Eastern time, or that's for like New York time. 15 minutes after the market opens, we should see some volatility when this comes out. But then the much bigger move is going to be made 15 minutes after that, or 30 minutes after the market opens at 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern time. We have a lot of data also dropping. We have like the manufacturing prices. We have another PMI report for the ISM manufacturing, lots of manufacturing data. And as big as this may be, that's not the big thing I'm referring to in this video. The much bigger data is going to be the JOLTS job openings report. This will be very important for the Fed's policies and also the way that the market is going to be viewing the economy. We have the job openings and job quits coming out, and these unemployment and employment numbers are going to be very, very important. Now, we want this to be very, very close. The job openings, we want them to be very close to like 9.5 to 9.6 million between the forecast and consensus, and we want that. But if we get anything that's too much lower than that could be a concerning sign for the markets, because the markets could interpret this the wrong way. The markets may not like, too low job openings. They may start to interpret that as signs of a recession, and this could really change the way they view things. And if these numbers are way too high, this could also be kind of bad because if the job openings are too strong. The Fed mentioned that this could lead to more inflation, and the Fed is going to be incentivized to be hawkish. So what do we want? The market wants us to be very close to what the consensus and forecasts happen to be, and we're going to see a big reaction depending on the numbers we end up getting. This is going to dictate the entire flow for the day for tomorrow. We also have the job quits coming out. You have to be ready for all of this, and I'm going to break this down in just a couple more minutes about how the market could be responding. But we also want to talk about these earnings so far. So far today in the morning, when I talked about this, we had like SoFi and a couple of others. Most of the earnings were quite strong for the market today. We had a pretty good day. But for Tuesday, which is tomorrow, we have Uber, Pfizer, Caterpillar, and just a couple of others in the morning. Then we have AMD, Starbucks, and Pinterest after the market closes. Then for Wednesday, we have PayPal, Shopify, and just a couple of others like Robinhood and Unity. Also CVS in the morning. And then the big day is going to be Thursday, as we have big tech stocks like Amazon, Apple, and Coinbase, which will dictate how the entire market moves for Friday and beyond. So we have some very, very big earnings ahead of us. I want everyone to be prepared for this and make sure that you are very, very open-minded. Now, some very bullish news did come out, but this was actually old news. It's just that Tesla has completed the acquisition of the wireless charging company. This is basically a German company, and it's very, very good news for them. I think that this is amazing that Tesla's continuing to expand its scope, continuing to improve its products. And with wireless charging, that's going to be very, very cool for their EVs. But I just want to mention to everyone that we have to be careful, because even though this news came out and people could get very excited about it, this was old news. We knew about this for quite a while. It's just that it took time for this to be confirmed. And now the acquisition has just been completed. So it is awesome that this happened, and that's part of why Tesla held up, but it isn't like such new news to the point where investors got surprised. We knew about this from the get-go. Now, for the listings for Tesla, and let me just also mention that we didn't really see any other major pieces of news that I saw that were like so big. This is maybe like one of the biggest things. But anyways, going back to the listings, we are actually seeing the Model X listings going up again. It's starting to go up higher and higher, which is not a very, very good sign. But besides that, everything else is at a very low value when it comes to the Model Ys, the Model 3s, and the Model S's. Demand for these is still relatively high for most models, but for the Model X, it's a little bit concerning. It's not the end of the world, though, because we're still very far for the end of the quarter. So we still have time. But I just want to note that we want to see some improvement for the Model X. We want to see more buyers step in. Now, as far as the volume goes, Tesla has low volume, only 84 million. So I'm anticipating a big move to come as volume is slowing down for now. And then the big move could come later on, maybe by like tomorrow, maybe later this week. But we need some kind of news to come out to really dictate this stock. The price pairs ratio is dropping just a little bit relative to price, which is a good sign for Tesla. This is giving the bulls a bigger edge. We will see what happens moving forward. Now, as far as Tesla's price performance goes, Morgan Stanley is giving Tesla an equal weight rating. Besides that, there's not much else that's new. The price price ratio is very flat. It's not really moving too much. And Tuesdays tend to be green about 51% of the time. So we do tend to be a little bit more green on Tuesdays, but it's almost 50-50, so it's not that big of a difference for that day. And then during the second, the fourth, and the fifth hours of the trading day, we tend to see Tesla move a lot more. These tend to be the more significant times to be watching it. But besides that, going forward, that's about it for now. The short interest is actually lowering for Tesla, so it's not really doing anything too crazy. Very much, a lot of data is suggesting it's quite sideways. But here's how I'm seeing this from a technical standpoint when it comes to big moves for Tesla. So, like I mentioned in the morning and also from yesterday, Tesla is sandwiched between the 50 and the 200 EMAs, going back and forth and back and forth. The 50 EMA is this yellow line right here. You can see it. It's just kind of like stuck below this. And then for support is the red line, the major support that's holding it up, which is the 200 EMA. The question is, which way will it end up moving? And that's actually really hard to determine as it depends on the news. Right, the news is what caused Tesla to one day come down and come up and come down, like as if it's just going crazy. And I believe, from a technical standpoint, the data coming out for tomorrow could cause more volatility for Tesla. But Tesla looks like it really wants to get above this 50. It's fighting for it. It's been fighting and fighting and fighting. This is the longest we've actually saw it above these higher levels and trying to hold up very, very close to it. So this is a good sign for Tesla. We also have this imbalance at 280. So here are the two possibilities, and I'm going to break down what's more likely. So the bulls are going to argue that Tesla's getting stronger. It's going to break, this resistance at the 50 EMA, or this 268 level, 268.27. The bulls are going to say that it's going to break this, make its way up to about 270. And if that breaks, 274 will come, and then a squeeze to about like 280 becomes possible, as we're going to see this act as a magnet because of this imbalance right over here. So 280 becomes possible if we break 274, and that becomes possible if we break 270. And in order for us to do that, we have to get above the 50 EMA. That's going to cause a big move to the upside. The bears, however, are going to argue that no, it's not going to break, the 50 EMA. It's going to get rejected again. And if they argue that, you're going to be watching 265 as support, then 262.5. We're very close to that area. We actually came kind of close to it today before bouncing, but that was just, due to volatility, which is normal in the markets. And the thing about Tesla is, if it ends up breaking below these levels, if it breaks 262.5, there's 260, which it has to hold. If that fails, this is going to likely fill this gap and come all the way down to the mid 250s, right? So there's a bull and bear case that are possible. What looks more likely, however? And honestly, guys, this is a little hard to predict because it's really determined by the news, which I can't really predict. But what I will tell you is, from a technical standpoint, it looks a little bit more bullish. I would be leaning a little bit more in that direction, because the first thing you have to remember is we have like a double bottom-like formation. We came very close to the 200 EMA 2 times and bounced off of it. Secondly, it's forming kind of like a W-like shape. I know it's a little bit like hard to see it, but it should be clear for people who are zooming out. And then on top of that, we have this imbalance up here, which is suggesting an accumulation phase down here at these levels, which suggests the odds favor this trying to break out. Also, if you look at today, it was trying to break out. It tried and tried and tried and just ended up failing to do so. But it looks like it wants to, right? It's showing some strength. It's getting very tight. So based off technicals alone, if we just ignore the news, if we just look at technicals, it looks more bullish. But I'm not 100% convinced. I'm not like super convicted in that move, because it depends on the news and these other factors. All right. So I want to make that as clear as possible for everyone. And if you want any bullish confirmation, let's just try to hold above our 50 EMA for an extended period of time in a very, very strong manner. And you want high volume. You want some good volume on Tesla, decent volume at least. Volume is a little bit low, and that's why Tesla's kind of trading sideways. We're not getting as much aggressive buying. If you look at the volume compared to average, it's about 50% lower than what it typically tends to be. Not 50%, maybe like 25%, but still not bad for Tesla. Anyways, now let's talk about Tesla in terms of what I see for tomorrow. For tomorrow, there's a good chance it's going to try to pop near the open, just like how it's been doing for the last few days. It also depends on the news, of course. And then it's going to get a big reaction at 10 o'clock a.m. to all this data. There's going to be one reaction 15 minutes after the market opens at 9:45, but it's not going to be that crazy compared to like 10 a.m. And then we're going to see what happens with the job openings data and the job quits. That's going to determine if Tesla gets like, a bigger move to the upside or not. That's going to help it out at least to some degree alongside the whole market. Then we also have the news factor, whatever news comes out for Tesla too. And then besides that, that's what I'm going to be seeing. We could just see another sideways day, but I just want to be very, very careful with this. Now, what about for Wednesday and Thursday? Just as a reminder, we have like, PayPal reporting earnings. So we could see a reaction for Thursday by tech. And then we might see Apple and Amazon try to like uptrend approaching Thursday. So this can also help the market hold up. So these factors will determine Wednesday and Thursday. We could see some upside on these days, especially on Thursday approaching the earnings. And if we do see upside, then we could see a big move by Friday if the market gets rug pulled or not. So there is a chance the market tries to uptrend for like Wednesday and Thursday, depending on earnings. And that's basically my view of Tesla. All right, so I hope this is as clear as possible. I know either way are possible because the news is very capricious, but the odds are favoring upside based off technicals. That's like the most simple thing I could say. It's more probable Tesla's going to try to break out based off just technicals alone. Now I'm going to try to quickly go over the rest of these. SPY is looking very, very sideways. I do anticipate that it's going to be range bound between 458 and about 454, doing the whole back and forth thing. It may try to push up in the morning, come down a little bit after that, then reacts to the big data, and we will see what happens after that. But I think it's just going to be stuck between 454. That's like the stronger support, and then resistance is going to be around like 458 or so, going back and forth and back and forth. We also bounced off our 200, not 200, the 20 EMA on the 4-hour time frame today. So that's going to be a support to watch for if it's currently around like 456. But overall, I'm just seeing us being range bound, not really doing anything too crazy. Same thing with the QQQ. I'm going to be watching 382 to 385, just going back and forth and back and forth. If it breaks 385, you're going to be watching this thing push to about 388. If 382 fails, this is going to come down to about 380. All right, so that's basically it for SPY and the QQQ. Just lots of sideways price actions, what I'm seeing, just like today. Nothing too crazy, and we're going to see a reaction to the JOLTS job openings and quits. For NEO, this is going to be on my radar for the next 2 days because NEO has something big coming out. Their deliveries numbers should be out either tomorrow or the day after, and we're going to see a massive move depending on this. Now, the odds do favor upside based off the numbers I was showing you from before. They should give us, in my opinion, close to like 17,000 plus deliveries, maybe more. If they do that, if they break a new record and get crazy month-over-month growth, we could see more upside on NEO. I would still be watching that like 16 to 16.8 level, if not 17.5 as possibilities if we get the upside. Downside, you have like 14, then like 12.75. I think it's unlikely, but always be open-minded just to be safe. For Apple could kind of downtrend a little bit tomorrow morning, retest like 195 and try to bounce off that. And I'm going to be watching this thing try to uptrend and get very close to form this like triangle. So we have this like bullish structure developing. If this ends up playing out, we could see this thing get very close to 200 right before earnings, at least like 198 or so, which could help the market hold up like I was talking about. But just to be safe, we will see what happens after earnings because that may not be the bigger move. After earnings, things could change big time for Apple. Now, one thing I forgot to mention about the QQQ is it does look a little bit bullish in a way, as we do have a potential inverse head and shoulder structure. It may be very sideways tomorrow, but later on, like for Wednesday and Thursday, if Apple and Amazon start pumping, approaching their earnings, I'm not saying after, I'm saying approaching the earnings as we get close to them, we might see the QQQ try to uptrend as well. If it breaks 385, that's going to be your like bullish signal to get to like 388. But for now, like right now, for tomorrow especially, it looks a little sideways. I'm not really seeing confirmation yet unless we get a catalyst. And that's what I'm seeing for the time being. For Nvda, it looks bullish as well. Nvda looks bullish with an inverse head and shoulder structure. If it breaks above 470, watch 474. If that breaks, we have 478 to 480, and it's most likely going to test that, in my opinion. It has like a cup and handle like structure as well. The bears are going to argue that 464, 458, and etc. are going to be tested, but like I said before, I mean, I'm just going to be open-minded no matter what. The odds do favor upside for the stock, but just to be safe, watch for confirmation. We also have AMD's earnings for tomorrow, so that's going to determine how this thing moves as well. Going into Microsoft, this thing ended up coming down just a little bit. We're going to be looking for a potential bounce because there's a possible inverse head and shoulders forming, but it's not looking that strong. If it breaks below and it fails to, hold this low at 333, I called this level out yesterday. If this breaks, it's going to come down to fill this gap all the way back down to 330. But if the inverse head and shoulders manages to play out, we need to see a bounce and a push up to about 340. This will depend on the news and other factors and the JOLTS job openings and etc. So just to be safe, I would rather just be patient and watch it. For AMD, we're going to be watching this thing. Could this thing break above 115? If that breaks, we could see this thing get very close to like with this 117 area. That's a real possibility. It looks more bullish, so we might see this thing pop thanks to earnings, which are going to be coming out tomorrow after the market closes. Netflix is looking a little bit more bullish from a technical standpoint, but I might see it retrace first into like the mid 430s, if not a little bit lower, before trying to bounce. And then we're going to be watching resistance very close to about, the 440 area. If it breaks that, I could be watching this thing try to push it up to right here around this like 440 plus area. Get above that, then we have like 450 next. There's not a whole lot of resistance between 440 and 450. I might just push straight up to 450 if we break 440. I'm going to be watching for this thing to dip first and try to bounce. It does look a little bit more bullish, but just to be safe, always be open-minded. Now I'm going to try to skip over like the SPX and some of the triple leverage ETFs for now and talk about Coinbase. This thing may gap down a little bit, then start pumping by the time we get to like Wednesday/Thursday because of the fact that it has earnings. So I'm going to be watching this thing get back to about 102. It could happen as soon as the pumping could start as soon as tomorrow, if not by like Wednesday. It may push down a little bit tomorrow to retest about like 95 or so, maybe it could come a little lower, then try to bounce off that and trade kind of sideways. But then after that, it could start uptrending, approaching its earnings and make its way up to about 102. For Google, what am I seeing? Now, this thing is holding up nicely. I predicted this thing would see more upside. We're forming a nice bullish structure right about here. I'm going to be watching for a retracement of backs of about this like 131 area, then a bounce and a retest of 134, possibly maybe even a higher level than that, and may continue to break out to these higher levels to about 135. Like Google, Amazon's at a very similar place, continuing to uptrend. It may cool off a little tomorrow to retest 133 flat, maybe even like 132 point, what is this, 132.5, and then try to bounce. But it has this nice inverse head and shoulder structure, and it has the potential to go all the way up to about 136. I think Amazon's going to hit 136 before earnings. We will see what happens after earnings from then. Maybe it cools off, then pushes approaching its earnings for 136, and then we see what happens after that. Earnings is going to be on Thursday after the market closes for them. Now, Meta's looking a little weak. I was thinking that this thing would retrace to about 320 or so and then maybe try to bounce, but I'm not sure about the bounce just yet. It's looking a little bearish right now and may cool off in the pre-market. We're going to be watching either a bounce around like 316 or 309. Hopefully it tries to bounce around there. If it fails to hold the 50 EMA, it's going to come all the way back down to about this like 300 levels. That's going to be a big drop. So be very careful. I'm going to be anticipating a possible bounce on it, however, just to be safe. All right, so anyways, guys, that's what I'm seeing for the markets. Please remain calm, cool, and collect and do what you have to do. I want the best for everyone and do what's right for your own portfolios. As far as Tesla goes, it's very boring right now being stuck between support and resistance, but it does have potential to move. We're going to be watching the headlines for tomorrow. What is the news saying about Tesla? It's going to be very important for how this thing moves, and then watch for confirmation, see if it could break the 50 or not. That's basically all I can say for this one. Thank you for listening. Nothing I said is financial advice. Tesla in the market to the moon as the long term is still incredibly bright. And peace out.